Behold, it's Natalia. Let's go find some monkeys, shall we?
Did you say sex is like riding a bicycle?
Nothing gets me going like Christmas and wigs. Let's check out this show.
I remember the first creature I beheld. He was a squirrel. His name was Kevin.
I heard you need a DNA sample.
I want to find light and joy in things that bring us together and unite us. And I think science is something that can unite us. Ow. God damn.
There's a world out there, a world that needs to be beheld.
Behold, folks. It is I, Natalia. We are back. Survival of the Filthiest. I'm so glad we're back at it. I am your host, Natalia Reagan, biological anthropologist, comedian, monkey chasing weirdo. And I started this show because what the fuck is happening in this country? I mean, folks, we have a war on Iran now, Venezuela, Cuba, science, healthcare, DEI, people of color, gays, bays, jetways, veterans, queers, engineers, the vax, paperbacks, teachers, creatures, women, and well, again, the war on science. It just keeps on going. And so what better way to fight this than to talk to scientists, activists, educators about how we can change this, how we can create some good trouble so we can move the country forward rather than 5,706 steps back, because that's how it feels every day, day in and day out. And here's a quick reminder that if you like this, please click like, please subscribe and share. You know, if you want to join the party and help produce this illustrious production, you can join my Patreon. I would very much appreciate it. And it would put food on the table for me. And I would love you and give you my firstborn child if that ever happens. Okay, today we're going to be talking about why science is political. I mean, everything really is at this point, but today we're specifically talking about science. Anything from climate change to evolution to women's health, reproductive issues, to the food we eat, to how we learn how to learn. Science informs policy. And that's the reason why so many GOP and Christian nationalist leaders sorry. I got a little feedback. Christian nationalists ignore science and despise science because it goes against what they want, which is to gain control of women, scapegoat the other, like migrants, the trans and queer communities, and ultimately gain authoritarian power. Christian nationalists hate science this for the same reason they hate the teachings of Jesus. It goes against everything they stand for. So instead, they cling to a book filled with nonsense and murder and a bunch of rules that they refuse to follow in order to control the US population. Good times. We love that. And this is nothing new. Nazi Germany not only killed scientists for either being Jewish or having opposing political views, they also used a thing called eugenics or racial hygiene to justify a forced sterilization and mass murder of millions of undesirable or inferior individuals because they wanted to create a pure or Aryan race. Spoiler alert. The pursuit of purity inherently requires limiting the gene pool, which is directly related to inbreeding, and inbreeding is bad, very, very bad. In biology, diversity, good. Variation, great. So, yeah, that didn't end so well for them, did it? Okay, but it's still a fight we have to keep fighting, looking at you, Epstein files. And in 2012 and 2014, there was a slew of politicians in our own country that would start off their arguments, I'm not a scientist, but, and then rattle off some ass backward opinion on something they knew nothing about. This ranged from Mitch McConnell, Rick Scott, to little Marco Rubio, who, when asked about the age of the earth, he responded, I'm not a scientist, man, and then stated that the age of the universe has zero to do with our economy, how our economy is going to grow. Read, climate change is inconvenient for me, so I'm going to ignore it until my foam falls into the sea. I hope it does. Here's the thing, folks. You don't have to be a scientist, but you sure can ask a scientist. You don't have to go guessing. There are experts there to help you, and I wish they would. But we know why they don't. It's because it goes directly against what they want. And in February 2026, the Trump administration revoked the 2009 endangerment finding, a cornerstone scientific report declaring greenhouse gases a threat to public health, dismantling the legal basis for EPA climate regulations. This action allows for massive deregulations of emissions from cars, trucks, and power plants, thus increasing atmospheric greenhouse gases. This is bad, folks. This massive denial of science is a literal fuck you to the earth and all its inhabitants. So today, in order to combat this and talk about it and try to wrap our heads around it, we're talking to Aron Ra. Aron is an atheist activist, an amazing science communicator. You've probably seen his wildly popular YouTube shows with his sassy snakes and adorable doggos. There's also a cat. There's a cat that's going to be making an appearance in a second. Aron is a vocal critic of theism and creationism and an advocate for the inclusion of evolution in science curricula. I'm going to say amen to that, even though it goes against what we're talking about. Ra produces YouTube videos on the topics of evolution, skepticism, free thought, and atheism. Ra is a regional director for American Atheists and is also the director of Phylogeny Explorer Project. He is engaged in live debates with young Earth creationists, including Ray Comfort, and presented at skepticism conferences in Europe. As a member of the Unholy Trinity, I love this, he toured the United States and Australia with two fellow atheist activists, Seth Andrews of the Thinking Atheist and Matt Dillahunty, formerly of the Atheist Experience. He appeared in the documentary film My Week in Atheism, directed by John Christie, and Batman and Jesus. I need to see this film, directed by Joseph K. Richards. He published his first book, Foundational Falsehoods of Creationism, in 2016. He is the host of the Ramen podcast. He does so many things. And internet, I want you to please welcome the amazing Aron Ra. Thank you for being here, Aron.
Thank you very kindly.
Oh my God, you guys. Okay. I'm not going to ignore not the elephant, but this adorable cat in former wear in the corner. Who is this cat? Tell me the story.
This is Persephone, spelled with 3 R's.
Purr.
And the way that we happened across her was I was driving my Jeep with no doors or roof.
Of course.
Because it was a nice day. And then I see in my rearview mirror something I thought was a squirrel darting underneath moving cars. You are biting me.
She's intense.
Biting.
I like her.
She came up here for pets, and then she just starts biting.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, cats.
Cat. I mean, that's kind of like, that sums up cats in a nutshell. She jumped
They
on
jump
you for
up on you.
love.
They get all over you. They say, pet me, pet me, pet me. And then the biting.
They attack. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Well, anyway, I saw this, what I thought was a squirrel darting underneath moving cars. And I realized that that's a kitten.
Oh.
A very tiny kitten.
Oh.
Yeah, just a itty bittiest little feral kitten, and it's out in traffic. So I didn't know what else to do. So I turned my Jeep sideways and stopped all the traffic behind me, blocking them with my Jeep. So I run out and I get the cat, which was amazingly fast. I mean, I had to fall down in the street a couple of times to get the cat, but I had to get back. Now I got a Jeep with no doors and no roof. What am I going to do with this kitten, right? So I got the kitten in my hand. She bit right through my hand. You know.
She really remained feral, didn't she? Because
she was a feral kitten, yeah.
Yeah.
So I handed her to my wife. Fortunately, my wife was in the Jeep, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what we're going to do. We would find a home for her. My wife said, she's mine.
Okay, got it. Hands up. Well, maybe that's why she attacks you. Maybe it's that sort of like, if I can kill him, if I, like she nuzzles up against you and then, but no, I just want to point out, you are an ardent atheist, right? And wouldn't Christian nationalists like to say that, anybody who falls into the atheist category is just going to hell and has no empathy and completely devoid of kindness and care? And, we got Christy Nome shooting goats and dogs, and you're, pulling over to save little tiny feral cats that normally if some kitten bit through your hand, you just kind of throw it off into the wind and let her go. But no, you're like, no, we're keeping her. I love her. So just pointing out some of the best people I know in the whole entire world are indeed atheists.
Yeah, well, the whole thing about Christian morality and the moral high ground, I think they've seeded that. I don't know if they're fully aware of how much they've seeded that, but it's become laughable when people say, "Oh, I'm a good moral person because I'm Christian." I'm sorry, there's just which direction do we want to disprove this from?
Right.
I mean, the first approach that I saw was a study more than a decade ago that was showing how a social studies kind of thing where people that were extremely religious that had been convicted of crimes were more violent and had more victims than the people who were not religious. Or the more religious they were, the more horrific their crimes, the more likely they are to support capital punishment, the more likely they are to endorse torture. In all of the child sexual abuse was in this study was reflecting the really religious. So the severely religious were all about the child sex thing, whereas
So you're saying they're not pro-life. Just making that clear.
yeah, so they're pro fetus. You know, they'll protect the unborn, and then once you're born, you're screwed. They've taken away all of the welfare programs, women and infant children, the WIC program, you know, that used to exist, and just they want to create a situation where they have expendable labor for the wealthy to hire cheap. They want to have a two-level system where you have the rich and you have the haves and the have-nots, right? And so the best way to eliminate the middle class is to make the median incomes have to pay more and keep them burdened. And so if women don't have control over their reproduction, then they're going to end up pregnant. And if they have no way out of that, well, then they're going to have to pay all of the extra costs, and they're not going to get any assistance on that. So that it makes the middle class poor, it makes the poor poorer, and then the rich just become richer and richer and richer because they don't pay taxes. And it's just completely unfair system.
Absolutely. It's a cycle. It's a feedback loop. You know, I look at when Ronald Reagan, my last name's Reagan, I always have to say no relation. But because the first thing he did when he became governor of California in 1968 was to defund higher education. The UC system used to be free for in-state students. It's a wonderful institution. However, now it's about $40,000 to $50,000 a year. You know, when you take away a population's access to education, you are going to keep them poor. That basically are the shackles of poverty. If you keep somebody from getting an education, whether they're teen pregnant or they just can't afford it and they have to work 5 jobs to maybe go to a JC, it's definitely a great way to cut a population off at the knees, because it's hard to fight back a government when you don't have
the other thing about Christian
time.
morality versus science, and I'm sorry I interrupted and went the wrong way.
Oh, you're fine.
Please continue. Please
Oh, no.
continue your thought.
I was finishing my thought. Basically, just you're cutting off a population at the knees when you
Yeah.
essentially keep them from having an education. I do want to acknowledge real quick, because we have the amazing Alira the Free who put in a comment. Thank you so much, Alira. Not many people know that there were some German scientists who came to Turkey from Germany upon Einstein's letter to Ataturk. We used to be rational, evolutionists, and science-loving country. This is what happens when you have religious zealots at the helm of a country. You know, it turns everything backwards. It's just this trying to go back into the dark ages. So thank you very much for the comment, and very good point. God, yeah. So anyways, but back to education and especially keeping people sort of down, so you can have, like you said, the haves and the have-nots. It's growing at a breakneck speed, I feel like.
If there was ever anything that you know, I wouldn't say that the United States was ever great, but I mean, it was. I think at one point, I think it did have the highest standard of living at one point, and so there was this time, and I think it was like the 1950s, where America was the best place to live. Great. So we've been writing on that for 75 years, an entire lifetime since that was true. And are you sure that Reagan was in 68? Because my memory was that it was in 67 that he saw Black Panthers with AR-15s, and so he, a Republican, was the first one to ban assault weapons
I'll double check. I'm pretty
because
sure
he saw
but
that
I mean,
Black people had them.
yeah, well, no, that's I mean, and I love the Black Panther Party that's still very much around, showing up and showing out at ICE raids or ICE protests, or when ICE are around, and they just stand there because they're very measured in their use of force. They just stand there. They're about as calm and collected as I've ever seen, just just being a presence, just letting you know I'm using my Second Amendment right. I'm over here. But
So here in Dallas, we had a Black Lives Matter gathering or demonstration or something. And all it was ever supposed to be was that people representing the Black Lives Matter movement were going to be visible in a given area. And so, of course, a legion of AR-15 white supremacists they didn't identify as white supremacists, but why would you send a bunch of guys with machine guns just because there's black people in the park?
Yeah.
So, but there's a whole bunch of guys with their machine guns there. They're trying to intimidate the Black Lives Matter people who are not armed, right? So we got all these guys with machine guns. They're going to be the heroes and protect us from all the dark-skinned people. And then, amusingly, there was a sniper, which I don't think he killed anybody, but there was a sniper in one of the buildings who started firing, and all the guys with machine guns fled like rabbits. They fled like cockroaches when you turn on the kitchen light. They've just remember the Sean Hannity said that if he was at the Las Vegas shooting where somebody had shot from into a country music show, if Sean Hannity was there, then he would pull out his little 9mm and somehow save the day, because a country music show doesn't have anybody there with guns unless it's Sean Hannity with his 9mm, and nobody could tell where the shots are coming from.
Yep.
So what's Sean Hannity going to do? Well, now you got a whole bunch of guys with machine guns out and ready and loaded, and none of them can do a damn thing except run.
Yeah. And that actually is a great example of science is political, because what did the CDC do when it came to trying to study gun control and study gun deaths and gun violence? They shut it down repeatedly, kept shutting it down, because they didn't want that information out there. They didn't want those stats out there because they don't look good and they don't really promote any sort of gun control. But we do know time and time again, the statistics are pointing out who acquires these guns, why they're acquiring their guns, and what they need to do to prevent that from happening. And
I was in Austin, and they were doing the Communist Party was doing a march in Austin, and on the day that I happened to be there, and so we understood that there's going to be this thing going on, and I saw them. I think there were 7 or 8 of them, 7 or 8 representatives of the Communist Party in Austin, in the midst of what I could conservatively say were 60, 70 protesters with machine guns surrounding them.
Wow.
Because that's how we deal with alternative ideas.
Yep. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I'm going to shoot it. It's really that's what it is. It's fear. It's the lack. And this is the thing. A little bit of education is a danger, or a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of education is a dangerous thing, but no knowledge, no education is even more dangerous. But
so how do we deal now with conflicting ideas? Well, uneducated opinions versus educated opinions can now be declared terrorist. So the president says that if you disagree with him on his fiscal policy, if you on his type of economics, if you suggest something else or a different type of political system, and I don't even necessarily mean communism, but I mean if you have anything that isn't necessarily explicitly capitalist or runaway capitalist, and if you don't endorse not just Christian, you have to be a Christian, or if you endorse some other idea or none. If you speak out against necessarily having a religious belief at all, well, then you could be a terrorist again, because you're on the list of people who don't also support Christian bigotry regarding race, and more specifically regarding sexual orientation or gender identity. You have to have all the bigotry.
Yeah, got it
Because
covered.
remember that religious values or Christian values are just prejudice against other people. So if you got American values, it means that you hate immigrants. And if you have family values, it means that you hate gays. So your values are just what you hate.
That's what it's become. I mean, I think it's mostly been that for a long time. One of my favorite stories of, especially just in terms of identity and race, is in the United States. I think it was the end of the 1800s. Essentially, the term Caucasian. The term Caucasian came from Johannes Blumenbach, a German anthropologist, essentially, that went to the Caucasus Mountains and thought they were the most beautiful people he's ever seen. And he called them the Caucasians. And he thought God must have created these people first because they were so absolutely stunning, but he couldn't leave out his own Western Europeans. So he lumped them in. So it was basically Northern Indians, Persians, Azerbaijan, and Georgians. And they were kind of lumped into the Caucasian mix. And years later, a man from India came to the US and said, but I'm Caucasian. I'm part of this mix. I'm part of Johannes Blumenbach's original definition of what a Caucasian is. And that's when the United States was like, let's take a look at that term and let's change it. Let's modify it to just be the group of people that we want it into our country. And
similarly, when we're talking about science and how science is bastardized of late, remember Charles Darwin in his first book similarly encountered a group of people that he said were the most beautiful people in the world. They were brown-skinned Tahitians. And Darwin consistently, always, only, ever spoke in favor of indigenous peoples wherever he went, and he went around the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he always spoke in favor of them. He compared them often that what an indigenous person would do would be bastardized by the white people, but completely understood and even lauded as heroic if it had been done by a white person.
Yep.
Right. So Darwin is making these observations, and yet Darwin is blamed for being a racist and a eugenist. And Hitler, by the way, you mentioned this earlier about the purity.
Mm-hmm.
Hitler argued for it. Darwin argued against it.
Yeah.
So why is Darwin being lumped in when Darwin had he was directly opposite of Hitler's position on practically everything. So it's, I mean, I will grant that Darwin was a sexist. You can say that. Yeah, you can, but he was not a racist. And I've been listening to how Darwin was a racist my whole life and how Hitler was a Darwinist.
Oh, dear Lord. Yeah.
In Mein Kampf, most of the time that Hitler is talking, depending on your English translation, there's some translations that when they say evolution, they really mean development.
Mm.
And what Hitler is talking about is industrial development or economic development, whatever. The one time he talks about evolution in the sense that Darwin would, I think it's in the second book, but the one time that Hitler mentions Darwinian evolution at all, he rejects it outright by stating that evolution can only occur within kinds, and that belief in the evolution of new species he considered to be a sin against the eternal creator. Hitler was not a Darwinist. Hitler was a creationist using creationist arguments.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and this is the lie that is the most pervasive over the course of my life. How Darwin was a eugenist. Darwin was blamed for the eugenics that was already going on in Australia. When he arrived in Australia on his trip around the world, he lamented in his book that this terrible practice had already been going on and what a terrible thing it was. Yet Ken Ham of Answers in Genesis currently nowadays blames Darwin and Darwin's influence for that thing that happened, that started happening 50 years before Darwin published his book. How the fuck is Darwin's fault?
People have been othering people far before Darwin existed. And so it's a shame that he's been made the scapegoat for these sorts of decisions when it's nice to feel like you have peer-reviewed evidence to back it up, but you don't, especially when you can't actually, when you don't understand it. And if you're, and let's be frank, he did not understand it. I mean, wanting a pure race, as you know, I mean, it basically is asking for a whole hell of a lot of inbreeding. And that last we checked, that's bad. Do you remember the X-Files episode Home?
I remember how I learned about that from cousin mom and cousin dad.
Yeah, right. Look, I was conceived in Kentucky, Aron. I know that sometimes there's the gene pool gets small in some places. I have great kinfolk. I'm not trying to say they were, but I know that in some places there's pockets of area where you don't. And this, so I talk a lot about the two resources that animals generally migrate for, and it's the two F's. It's food and finding mates. Right. And so that's oftentimes what gets us on the go, whether it's humans or animals. Later on, as we became more sedentary, things like the push and pull of conflict and disease and wanting a better life are what make us move around and whatnot. But, looking for mates is a big part of it. Unrelated mates, by the way, I should be clear. Unrelated. I mean, you can mate with pretty much anything. At least human men will try to. We know this.
Well, it doesn't always work. I've seen dogs running these experiments forever, and they can't get most people's shins pregnant.
This is true. I do a show though, but I do break down all the, like, what was it? The man that was having sex with pavement. There was the guy that boned a watermelon. All the different. Yeah, if you watched Saltburn, there was the guy that literally plowed the fields. Just taking it to a whole new level with inanimate objects. Whatever works, right? But that's the thing is when you don't, well, that's the thing. If you don't have sex education or science education. So I have a list I actually wanted to go through with you. I also want to know a little bit about your background, because that's the thing that I think is very interesting, is how you went from growing up in a religious upbringing to being somebody who's so staunchly atheist, but also all about getting evolution in the classrooms and making sure that intelligent design goes away. So can you tell me a little bit about your upbringing and how that influenced your trajectory?
Somehow, and for reasons I'm not entirely sure of, I have always been secular. I mean, I was accused, and I mean the word accused. I was accused of being a humanist when I was 11 years old.
Oh, wow. Did they use that terminology?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, yeah. So, and it was with disdain in their voice. It would very often be the thing that I would say something that I think is fair and reasonable. Let's examine the situation. Here's a potential solution, and I'm cast as evil because I said that.
Because you're a good person.
Well, when I mentioned that you can't force people to have a belief, because how do you can't, what are you going to do? Point a gun at somebody's head and make them believe something? That doesn't work. You can get somebody to lie and say they believe that, but it doesn't convince them to believe that. And that I think is the conversation that caused the person to accuse me. That I said the government cannot enforce a religious belief. They can't have a state religion and tell everybody that we have to believe that. And so I'm arguing with somebody who wants everybody to believe what they tell them to believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then at another point, somebody was telling me, and this was way back in the 70s, early 70s, in fact, when my family is talking about the disparate breeding, how we're running out of white people, as if that's
Oh, wow.
a thing.
In the
right?
70s? It was
Yeah, in the 70s.
Wow.
So and my thought was, yeah, I didn't think about how they were putting it. They're somehow worried that generations from when they're not even here anymore.
Right.
Why is it going to matter to you what percentage of the population of white? Why does it matter?
Are they into reincarnation? Do they think they're coming back? Like what does it matter? Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I said something that it won't matter, because everybody's the way that everybody's intermingling. We're all going to be a light brown anyway, so it doesn't matter. And that was the most horrible thing that I could have said to my own family, because they could. What a terrible atrocity that would be.
Wow.
And then when they talk about the population growth, right? See, at the time, when my grandmother was born, there was 2 billion people on the planet. And then by the time I'm born, there's just over 3 billion people on the planet. So look at that length of time, right? From 1900 to 1960, we go from 2 billion to 3 billion. But then we are rapidly running up on 4 billion.
Yeah.
So it's exponential, right? There's a steep curve. And my family is reading the news about this, and they're kind of freaking out about it a little bit. And I said, well, maybe people shouldn't, they should have so many babies. So I'm advocating at 11 years old, I'm advocating birth control. And somehow that made me a Nazi.
Oh, okay.
Because
Wow,
my
you didn't say
family is accusing me of promoting eugenics.
well, you didn't say who
Because
was supposed to have less babies.
well, they were telling me that we have to have as many babies as possible for a couple of reasons. We have to bring more Christian souls into the Lord,
Mhm.
so that it doesn't matter of the hellscape that we create where everybody ends up starving to death, because we will have brought more souls to the Lord.
Wow.
For me, and when you have a really massive population, you have to be very efficient in how you produce food and how you produce energy. And we're really sucking at both of those jobs right now. I don't see a problem with controlling our birth rate, but in a runaway capitalist society,
Mhm.
they need exponential growth, right? And then the religious, well, they have to because they think all of this, they don't understand attenuation.
Yeah.
They tell me all the time that atheists are not growing as a demographic because all these people are born into Christian families. They're declared to be Christian. People born into Muslim families, they're declared to be Muslim. And so these growth rates, and this is the way it's always going to be. Atheism, however, has been on the rise in the United States, in every state and around the world. And how is that possible when we don't procreate at the same rate as these other groups? Because we grow through attenuation.
Yep.
We grow from Christians going off to school and finding out that their fundamentalist parents had lied to them their whole lives. And so something like 75% of them lose their faith. When they come from a fundamentalist background and then they go into a secular college, they learn shit, they stop believing. That's just the way that works. And then in people that were talking about the Islamification of Europe, you send all these Muslim immigrants and then they reproduce as much as they can so that they will turn Europe Muslim. However, a huge amount of these people integrated that society. They decide they like that society much better than they liked Qatar or Saudi Arabia or Oman. This place is a place, it's fun to live. There's a wider variety of food, all of this, and there's a wider variety of people, and it's great. I'm enjoying this. So they end up dropping out of Islam. Same kind of thing. Or at least becoming secular, even if you maintain a nominal. Well, yeah, I'm Muslim because my parents are Muslim. I met a couple in college. They said that they identified as Hindu, and I had some questions about the Mahabharata because I was trying to find the passage where Krishna. It's not in the Bhagavad Gita, but where Lord Krishna gives sight to a blind man for only a moment. And I wanted to know where in the Mahabharata can I find that, because you don't want to just you don't want to read the whole fucking thing to find this. Where is that? And they looked at me as if I was stupid, and they said, we're Hindu because our parents are Hindu, not because we believe it. And then when I go to India, I find that very often that's the same case.
Yeah.
It's not, it's a cultural identification, kind of like being Jewish, just like most Jews don't believe in the Bible.
And they don't necessarily celebrate Shabbat and hold all
They
the
might,
rules.
I know Jewish atheists who celebrate the old holidays.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they do all that, but they don't actually believe any of it. So it is, for a lot of them, it is completely cultural, which is not something that I understand at all. But I mean, I get you do the family traditions. I tried to do, the Christmas tree thing, but I was just like,
Yeah, it's not.
I have no use for just none of the trappings
I
of
feel like
Christmas.
you could do, goths up trees. Do you remember that? Do you remember that phenomenon of goths
Nope.
up trees? Aron,
Nope.
I charge you, and the internet out there, please, please, please Google goths up trees. And it's a bunch of goths. Like, I actually did it when I was 20, but I look like a hippie kid mixed with a goth, but you get up a tree and you just look all, you know what I mean? But I feel like you could do a goth mystery where it's just, it's like a Festivus poll, but blacker and filled with more, I don't know, rage maybe. It's or angst.
We
or
do
melancholy.
commonly frequent a couple of the goth clubs here in Dallas.
I've seen pictures.
The
You guys
less said
kill it.
about that, the better.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's great. I do have a couple comments I want to read. Mr. Krenin says, I remember, gonna go for it. I remember for a long time I was afraid / cautious of telling people I was raised atheist, pluralist, free love religion of Santana with a god image called Destroyer, Shiva, and Death, Kali. They went on to say the Christians are always looking to call opposition evil, Satanist. Oh, wait, did I call them Santanists? No, Santana, I did. Satanists to justify their attacks. Yeah. I don't think Satanists are evil at all. If anything, the Church of Satan does a lot of great stuff. I'm all about it.
Well, I don't know about the Church of Satan. I joined the Satanic Temple.
Okay. Yeah, you're wearing the
Because
shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me see the swag.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was a Texas branch. There's been a lot of offshoots
Yeah. Tell me more.
because the Satanic Temple was on top of a huge growth situation that they frankly did not manage well.
Okay.
But and so there've been a lot of independent groups that spawn off of that. But the point of it, if you look at the 7 tenets of the Satanic Temple, they and really even the Church of Satan, I mean, when Anton LaVey started that in 1966, he declared then that Satanists were atheists.
Mhm.
All right, and he just said that all of them that say I've met actually theistic Satanists. I think there are 40 of them in the.
Uh-oh. Did the cat kill his connection? Oh no. Aron, we lost you for a moment. Well, folks, oh, we got a bearded dragon. Uh, Persephone, Aron's cat, seemed to be walking on his lap, and I don't know if maybe she
walks, she jumps up on my computer. I've got to put something up there to keep on the power button.
Her master plan is great. Oh my god, this cat has she's got some, like, I don't know, some plans that she's trying to work
So
out.
anyway, Anton LaVey said
Mhm.
that Satanists are atheists, and there are theistic Satanists. As I said, there's a few dozen of them across the country.
Dozens.
Yeah, there are people who pretend, as if they worship the dogma of Angra Mainyu or whatever. But the real Satanists, seriously, the Anton LaVey's group, the Church of Satan, they're secularists.
Okay.
They're atheists, all of them. And then when Lucian Greaves branched off with the Satanic Temple, he came up with the 7 tenets. And it really doesn't matter which Satanic group you look at; they're all atheists. It's just that the Satanic Temple are more activists. They're more left wing.
Got it.
So yeah, and so I was properly impressed with what the Satanic Temple was doing in defense of religious First Amendment religious freedom. Because I'm on the board of directors for American Atheists 501c3, which I'm very proud of. But there's only so much that a secular nonprofit can do.
Yeah.
There are things that, as a representative of a religion, you can do that a secular org cannot. So when they want to put up the 10 commandments in some church or whatever, 10 commandments in a courthouse or whatever, American Atheists wanted to promote a Sagan kind of a model or something promoting science. Nobody gets that. Nobody gets that, because Christians think they're scientists. They think that all the scientists, from Newton and Faraday or whatever, those were all Christian, and therefore Christianity invented science.
No.
And that science leads to Christianity. They think that.
No.
So they completely miss the point of putting up a monument to science. Right. The only thing that worked was when the Hindus in this one local area wanted to put up a statue of Hanuman. Now, they could have chosen any other
Big
god,
fan.
but they realized that Hanuman, that one will fuck with the Christians, because Hanuman is a monkey king. So you can't have a human monkey, right? He's a human, but he's a monkey, and he's dressed in clothes and signing documents. And the Hindus realize how that would fuck with the Christians. Well, the Satanic Temple realizes the same thing. So they roll up with their statue of Baphomet. And only then do all the Christians suddenly say, oh, well, we're supposed to be a secular nation. We're not supposed to promote any particular religion. Oh, you don't say. You remembered that spontaneously when the Satanists rolled up with their statue, but you couldn't remember that a moment before. It wasn't, you demand faith-based initiatives to fund your Christian schools. But then when the Muslims say, okay, fund my school, then you remember, oh yeah, we're not, turns out we're not supposed to do that. Well, it's okay if you do it for Christians, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's all about prejudice.
Yeah. Just like white people and guns. Second Amendment is great if it's a bunch of white people using and expressing it. But if it's anybody that's not white, forget it. All of a sudden, you can't bring a gun to a protest. Wait a minute. Hold up. Hold the fuck up.
And announcing that man brought a gun to a protest. You don't do that. And we look at all the protests up to that point where white people show up with their fucking rifles.
Yeah.
And this guy kept it in his holster.
Yep.
He didn't even touch his gun. He was a nurse trying to act like a nurse. And they shot him and said, oh, look, he's got a gun. And I think that's the way it worked. I think they shot him first, then realized he had a gun.
Right. Yeah.
In his holster.
Yep. And I think what's scary and telling is that a phone is far more dangerous than a gun in terms of documenting, being perceived, being documented, doing the things that they're doing. And I think that's what they're now seeing and realizing, and the world is seeing and realizing, that holding a phone now is akin to having a weapon in your hand, because that can be used
Imagine
against
how
them.
different this country would be if over the last 20 years, everybody didn't have a video phone or a video camera on at all times. If it was like back in the 50s, when shit just happened and nobody was there, nobody saw it. Even the people who were there and saw it.
Yeah. I mean, I think of Rodney King. I was 12. I was in 6th grade. I was 12 years old when that came out, when that footage came out. I'm from Los Angeles, and I was in a DARE class. Officer Bilodeau and Officer Buchanan. Hello, guys, if you're watching. It didn't work. Actually, DARE did work. I learned how to buy, sell, and do drugs without getting caught. Thank you so much. Anyways, they also got a lot of angry 12-year-olds being like, why did you beat the crap out of this poor man in the streets? But that was one of the first times we saw such extreme violence perpetrated by cops. Of course, it's been happening since cops have been around, but that was huge.
Cameras.
And now with cameras, everywhere.
Now we have cameras and internet, because even if you had a camera back in the 80s or 90s, how are you going to show it to anybody?
Right.
There was no medium to hey, you want to watch my home movies? No.
Get into the 5 o'clock news, but yeah. Do you want to watch my home video of when I got beat by a cop? Yeah, no, that real fun at parties. Go home, Steve. Nobody wants to see you getting beat by cops. Real quickly, I just want to give a shout out to a couple. Well, Alira the Free has a question. Natalia, as a primatologist, great. Since we just talked about Hanuman, do you see any resemblance between family values and the social constructs in primates? No. Yes and no, in terms of there can be a strict hierarchy in terms of primate structure, like we're seeing with Punch the Macaque, where people are mad that Punch the Macaque isn't seamlessly integrating into a group. Punch is a Japanese macaque. Macaques notoriously have they're matrilineal, meaning the females stay in the group. They're matrilocal, and the power and the dominance hierarchy is based on how who your mother was. Essentially, you're born into it. Whereas males actually have to fight and jockey for position. And there's a strict hierarchy. So sometimes it's hard to get into a particular group. But I feel like just like humans, and I think that's something really important. And I just talked to Augustine Fuentes yesterday, who wrote a book called Sex is a Spectrum, an amazing book, is doing a follow-up book about basically human nature is the name that he's calling it. And I'm very excited. But just the fact that humans there's not one size fits all of how to be human, how to have a social structure, how to do family. There's many different ways throughout time and space culturally around the world. And same with primates. There's not like a one size fits all. So for instance, you have this sort of strict hierarchy in macaques and maybe baboons, but you'll see bonobos where it's female dominant, even though they're patrilocal, meaning the males stay in the group and the females disperse. The females form these great bonds. A lot of it is through sexual activity with one another. They are
That's
hella
because they're a
gay.
bunch of liberals and lefties.
They are, yeah, they're the key party. Yeah,
Yeah,
it is,
we're chimpanzees, pan troglodytes.
yep,
They're MAGA.
yeah.
Yeah, they're all about war. They're just brutally violent.
Yeah, exactly. And the males control access to food, whereas the bonobos the females control access to food and will make the males give up a little of the nookie in order to get some food, whereas the chimps will do it the opposite in their particular group. So there's not a one size fits all. So I think it's really different, case by case with the primates. But the Western idea of family values is very narrow, very narrow, incredibly misogynistic, and I think really does enforce this idea of a disparate gap between the haves and the have-nots. It really does. And that's the problem with, I think, the family values that you see really pushed by the GOP here in the United States. Things like no women reproductive rights. It really does keep women without power and keeps men at power. And we see what they do with that.
Another aspect we should bring up, being as having both of us having degrees in anthropology, this whole issue of morality.
Mhm.
When the excuse given for why we do things a certain way is because that's the way we've always done them. That's not a reason, Joe Bob. You're gonna
And
have
it's
to
also
come up
not
with
true.
something else.
Well, my favorite is when sorry, go on.
No, please go ahead.
No, you.
Okay. Well, now I lost where I was gonna go. So
Oh,
your
Joe
favorite one is-
Bob. Oh,
yeah.
well, just when men, I will hear a lot of male academics or even just politicians saying it's now is the best time in the whole history of the world to be a woman. How do you know? First of all, in the beginning days of our species, there was no probably division of labor because the groups were so damn small, right? There's no sign that there was this huge difference between males and females when it came to power. They're probably far more egalitarian than they are now today. So there's a lot of assumptions about what it's like being a woman now, and even here in the US versus around the world. So that's something I think we need to reconsider.
I think if we're talking about a hunter-gatherer society, then you're probably right. But in most other constructs since that stage, I think I can understand where the point would be, because there has been an awful lot of oppression and centralization in power into one figurehead, which always ends up bad, right? So it just always does. And much like every single time that religion has had rule over law, the result has always been an almost automatic violation of human rights. But these people insist on, well, if there's no God, then where do you get your morality?
Oh.
These are people who think somehow that believing that there's an inescapable despot who watches everything that you do and knows everything that you remember everything, that fear of being punished by this thing is going to stop you from doing the terrible things that you're still doing. And that all these people in prison, like what, 98% of the prison population is theistic, right? Whether Catholic or Protestant, or smaller degrees in the United States. For a Muslim, almost practically no Mormons. This is a curiosity. There's
Oh, okay.
there's slightly more Mormons in prison than atheists, and that's it.
An argument for polygamy, that you've got too many wives keeping you busy. Okay, moving on.
You're much too busy to commit crimes. But in reality, so we see that they don't have a morality. Okay, so at best, you could take the assumed threat of the thing you pretend, which you obviously don't really believe in, but you take the assumed threat of that as being the reason. If that's just a leash, you're just a psychopath on a leash. You're not a moral person. So where did morality really come from?
Mm.
Damn sure was not imposed by God. And God is not moral. Let's be very explicit about
Oh,
that.
God is, I was talking to John Fugel saying he's the least pro-life person in the whole entire Bible. He's killing people left and right.
God
Smiting everybody. So much
and
smiting.
God not only lies, but he brags about lying. Right. And brags about how he misleads his own prophets.
Mm.
Right. So let's be real. God is in God. The Bible advocates child sex trafficking, among other things.
And cannibalism of children.
And where women are half price as slaves. And so on.
Buy one, get one.
So God is not the source of morality. God is not himself moral in any sense. And people are saying, well, if God told you to kill your children, would you do it? Because that would be moral because God is commanding it. Yeah, God said, that thou shalt not murder. And then on the next page, he says, murder every man and his brother. Sorry, divine command theory is not moral. God is not moral. The Bible is not moral. The Bible is not a guide to morality. Unfortunately, anybody that would take the Bible as their exclusive moral guide would be a criminal in every country on this planet.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So where did morality really come from? Regardless of what size community we're in, we are a social species. No man is an island, right? We depend on society, this abstract concept that also depends on us. Society depends on each of us as increments of that, elements of that, in order to cohabitate productively. Society depends on us being able to live together, in some kind of a meaningful, peaceful way. And so over time, you establish which members of your group are the ones who can be trusted. Which ones are the ones that you go to when you're in trouble? You go to that person. If you need help, you go to this person. Which ones will stand by their word, right? Which ones have empathy for your fellow man, right? And so, this is how we develop the people who we can trust, the people that we can believe in. Those are the ones who get preferential offerings. Like here's my daughter. Isn't she nice? Let's have you over for dinner so that you and her can talk.
Right.
That kind of thing. Whereas, variety is happening all the time. And there are people with underdeveloped prefrontal lobes or with dysfunctional mirror neurons or whatever the fuck the problem is. But there are sociopaths. There are people who are apathetic, who only care about themselves, who are extremely selfish. Trump, who never do anything for anybody that doesn't benefit themselves first. Yeah. Right. So now those people are recognized. You don't trust them. You don't leave your kids with them. You don't have them at the house. Right. You avoid them in the street. These are the people who will eventually be eliminated from the gene pool, either by being, they'll be ostracized, they'll be imprisoned or killed. So the ones that the benefit of population mechanics, the people who will stand by their word, who can be relied upon, who have empathy and all that, they procreate, and the deviants become the outcasts, and they don't contribute as much to the population genetics. That's where we get morality. This is why we have, most of us, a degree of compassion for our family, friends, and fellows, which also extends to our pets and to our livestock. And so if you want to see somebody that is a deplorable human being, or will be, to a wife or to a child, see how they treat their pets.
Oh, yeah. Big time. Yeah. I did an episode of Bill Nye Saves the Universe many moons ago. And that was what we talked about, was the birth of morality. Do monkeys have morality? And I said, well, I've never seen a baboon, sit in a church pew. They do have a sense of altruism. They will put their neck out there for those that are not kin. And so we see that in many instances, taking care. Even we were talking yesterday on a stream about sometimes when Japanese macaque females, which are more likely to abandon their offspring than, say, other species of monkeys, because it's such a hard endeavor to be a macaque mama, that about over 7% of Japanese macaque moms will abandon their infants. Sometimes macaque males, it's rare, will adopt that infant. Sometimes the human in me dealing with the Epstein files is like, I want to know their intention, but let's just assume it's good. But it's still, taking one for the team because there's no guarantee that that's his kid, right? Like there's no Maury Povich out there with the monkeys being like, Kevin, that is your kid. But, so there is this idea, a sense of altruism that we see with a lot of non-human primates and different animals, especially in herd animals that will say if they're getting chased by a predator, sometimes gazelle will stand out or do some certain jumps that kind of distract them and like, go, run, keep going, and try to catch up, but sometimes they get eaten. So there is a lot of putting your neck out there for those that are not related, which is a sign of altruism and potentially where morality is rooted when it comes to humans. Because I always like to point out that non-human primates have been around far longer than we have, millions of years longer, and a lot of it we learn from watching them. Remember the commercial? I learned it from watching you, Dad. It's like that, we especially when it comes to just not being a complete and utter jerk. Chimpanzees, barring chimpanzees.
The first time I was ever flown somewhere to give a speech, I went to the James Randi Educational Foundation. I gave a presentation at his college in Florida, and the presentation there was about morality and the natural source of morality and what morality is. Morality is not sexual repression and inhibition. It's not moral to deny yourself one of the strongest urges that you have, because that will just turn you nuts. In that capacity, if you're trying to be moral, upstanding, and righteous, but you're denying this thing that would be healthy if you perform it in the right way, well, then you end up with the stark contrast of you're in an all dark room, but you're the candle. That's what you're trying to be, right? But what ends up happening, so you end up being this blight in a perfectly well lit room or snowy field, and you're the one muddy footprint there. But one of the things that Scott Clifton, the theoretical bullshit, he did a thing called A Treatise on Morality, where he explains what morality is. A particular action or choice is moral or good if it promotes happiness, well-being, or health, or and a particular action or choice is immoral or bad or evil, right, if it causes unnecessary harm or suffering or whatever. So this is easy for people to understand. This is easy for animals to understand. So, I mean, I have a bunch of snakes, and most of them are smart enough to know not to bite me. Most of them know, hey, we're just going, we're going out of the cage. We're probably going to go someplace, do something, and then in a couple hours I'll be back in here and it'll all be fine. And it's, I've done it several times before. It's always been safe and warm and fun, and it's going to be that way again. Yeah, they get it.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not abusing anybody. They don't feel, they're not frightened. There's no reason to be, and they understand that. So the natural world, people just contrast, religious believers want to contrast people and animals. Well, you don't, you want to act like animals running around killing each other. Sorry, people running around killing each other.
Yeah.
I don't see any animal ever doing the kind of behaviors that we do. They understand that you're not supposed to just randomly attack people for no fucking reason. It's just, it's not. Christians have told me so many times that if it wasn't for fear of God, that they would be vandalizing and raping and killing everybody that they want to. Why?
What? No, it's never crossed. That's
so
a deeper.
So you're telling me you want to destroy things. You want to rape and kill people. You realize what you're admitting to me.
Yeah.
So this is why I say that they're not moral to begin with. One of the best demonstrations that I remember seeing in morality, and this has a direct correlation to the development of humanity from some of the other apes. There's a beautiful video where this Cape buffalo baby, it's a calf of Cape buffalo, is with the herd and gets attacked by lions. The buffalo runs into the water trying to escape the lions, gets attacked by a crocodile.
Yeah.
The lions go into the lagoon or whatever the hell it is, and they drag the thing out with the crocodile. So now the lions have dragged this poor baby calf out here, and now they've dragged the crocodile out of the water. The crocodile realizes he can't do anything against the lions. He lets go, and he plunges back in the water. So now the baby is stuck with these 3 lions, and I think there's 4 or 5 lions in quick order. So now the baby's in serious trouble. And this is what morality is. The entire herd of Cape buffalo come back.
Yeah.
And now there's 100 Cape buffalo 8 inches away from these 3 lions. And the lions realize, I'm not hungry.
I'm just going to go. Yeah. I'm just going to, yeah.
And it's a beautiful video because
Yeah.
the buffalo start coming in and throwing lions around.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. I
So-
wouldn't want to go up. Yeah.
In human development, what the biggest advantage that we have over chimpanzees, and I don't know about bonobos, but I've seen studies that show that the empathy, that experiencing somebody else's struggle and feeling it, right, it was something we do naturally, but chimpanzees not so much, right? You can get somebody to help you do something, but he's only interested in his own. If he's helping
What
you,
can you
it's
do
not
for
really,
me? Yeah.
yeah, what's in it for me? And I hate that attitude, but what's in it for me? But this is something that humans have.
Yeah.
That in most other herd animals, social animals, the old and the weak or whatever, they get singled off and everybody runs for cover, safety in numbers. Okay, well, I outran them because I'm strong and fast and all that right now. My time will come.
Right.
But the advantage that people have is the family group, the tribe or whatever, they're all marching across the savannah and somebody gets attacked by whatever, because there's tons of options. Let's say a big cat. And the old or the weak, the child or whatever, they're in trouble. None of us can take on a Dinophilus. None of us. All of us? Yeah.
Yeah.
With sticks and stones, we'll break your bones. There's every one of us.
Yep.
You can only get one, and we will get you. You kill one of us, we all kill one of you. How about that? There's only one of you. So that's the disparity. That's the thing that saved us. We weren't smart yet. We weren't as strong as chimpanzees or gorillas. We're hopeless. The one advantage we had, fuck with one of us, you fuck with all of us.
Yeah. And that's what we're seeing a big problem with today, because none of us, we're all very, very divided.
So I know that chimpanzees experience this to a degree, because I saw this thing about there was a male chimp that was extremely abusive, tyrannical, until the like 8 or 9 females turned on him and
That happens,
savagely
yeah.
beat the living fuck.
Well, the very first bonobo murder reported murder. I'm sure there could have been a new one actually last week. I don't know if you saw those teenage boys taunting the bonobo at the Memphis Zoo, and a bonobo named Mabali hit the glass so hard that the inner layer broke. And I was like, if that bonobo got through, I have a feeling the first human murder by a bonobo would have been reported. And we all would have been cheering for Mabali. Let's just be real. The teenagers were being real jerks to him. But the very first bonobo reported murder was documented last October 2025. Basically, a male named Hugo, a young male, was seen basically trying to take an infant from a female. And it happened at least once that they know of. And 2 days later, the researchers were pretty far away and they heard just blood-curdling screams. And they just took off running to where they heard them. And it was the group of females basically beating the living daylights out of Hugo. And they didn't see him die, but basically he was so badly injured, he just sort of hobbled off and was never seen from again. And we know how scavenging works in the forest. So who knows? Most likely he did die. But they think it's because he was being abusive to the infants. And it's just such a novel idea anybody to hold men accountable when they are mean to infants and or females in a group. Yeah, it's one of those things that we can really learn a lot from bonobos. So,
And this isn't universal. This is not every animal has this, which is sad. I mean, there's things about where a male lion will come in, and if he kills the old lion, or if something happens to the old lion, the new male will come in and kill the cubs, and somehow he gets the wife, which is such a bizarre concept. I can't even wrap my head around that. But
gorillas
in
will do that
primates,
sometimes too.
no.
Well, male gorillas will do that sometimes, and it's infanticide. Unfortunately, happens in non-human primates.
And
Langurs,
get the mate?
yes, because the reason being the reason being is it when, especially with gorillas, when they have an infant on them, they're not in estrus. They cannot get pregnant, and they're not going to copulate. So it's a way to just, one, get rid of the old dude's offspring, so we don't want that heir around, but also it snaps the female into estrus. But the problem is it doesn't happen all the time. I don't want to spread
Well,
the
talk about Stockholm syndrome. I mean,
yeah, exactly. It's pretty, and I don't think the female has much choice in the matter in some cases. It's hard to argue with a 450-pound gorilla. That's a
and it's
lot
also hard to
deal with.
it's also hard to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here, real quickly, I want to get to a couple things because some of the folks have really great comments and
I'm
questions.
going to grab a beer. I'll be right back.
Yeah, grab a beer. I love this. Okay. So we've got at Mr. Cranin, number 2. I was a kid during, well, I want to wait till Aron's back. So let's just give it a second. But yeah, gorillas are wild. So many of you probably have maybe a fair idea that gorillas usually live it with one male and multiple females. They call them harems. I don't think they really use that term so much anymore, but sometimes they'll have more than one male, and it can get pretty wild out there for the gorillas, and the females have to sort of deal with the BS of having an alpha male. But I'm going to now read the comments, Aron, because I was waiting for you to come back, because I think you're going to have something to say about this one. So at Mr. Crennan, number 2, I was a kid during one of our many satanic panic waves. Ooh, satanic panic. Even the mystic Satanists are more like chaos magicians, not evil theists. Christians love their Satanist / demon mythology, which is true, right? Wouldn't you say? They really do.
Yeah, I like to view, and I know that this is not an official position for the Satanic Temple. I do not represent the Satanic Temple. I'm just a member for political reasons, because I want to engage in the activism in defense of First Amendment freedom of religion. Where was I going to go with that?
Satanic panic.
I liken the Satanic Temple, and in general just Satanism, is, for me, it's humanism in goth drag.
I like that.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, this is why I think the goth up in trees Christmas tree is the solution to a Christmas tree. We just need a goth up a tree and do some weird dancing around it, some good gothy dancing. You know what I'm talking about. You understand.
I avoided joining the Satanic Temple for the longest time because I remember saying, because people thought I was satanic, like all my life, just for whatever, because I listened to AC/DC in the 80s, or because I played Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Dungeons and Dragons meant you were Satanist?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, supposedly if you get to 13th level, whatever, well, then
Oh.
you become part of a coven or whatever.
I didn't
It's
realize.
the satanic panic shit. But I've been listening to that all my life. And then before I finally joined, I remember up until that point, all these people thinking that I said, I can't be a Satanist because, 1, I'm not young and pretty enough. And 2, I can't afford the wardrobe. Have you seen the way some of these Satanists dress?
I need to Google. Are they like wearing cloaks? Is it like
No,
cloaks?
there's all kinds of lingerie of different types. There's
Satanist
the outfits
wardrobe.
can be fabulous.
You know what? I had no idea. Satanic robe. I love that. There's an
I've
Amazon.
been to 2 satanic balls.
Oh, these are
One was
beautiful.
the Impurity Ball.
Oh.
At the first Satan Con in Scottsdale, and then the other one was at the second Satan Con in Boston.
Okay.
And both of them, the outfits, it's
We're just Okay. Oh, I'm seeing.
It's like Adam's Family at
Oh,
Comic-Con.
yes, the headdresses. I'm looking it up, folks. I am Googling and I'm seeing all sorts of ram's heads.
Yeah,
These are
they're
beautiful.
fantastic outfits, and I just
Oh my God.
yeah. So, I mean,
Glorious.
I would go into it. There was a little, I've been to London a handful of times. I always go to Camden, and
Oh
there's
yeah.
a shop there where I can buy all my, goth, satanic, steampunk shit. Yeah, so my whole wardrobe comes from this one store in Camden.
It's like an upscale Hot Topic kind of thing, right? Because I feel like I grew up when Hot Topic really popped off, right? And like I was gothy, but like I was gothy, like I would wear the black and white striped tights, but I still had blonde hair and I smiled a lot. So it was very confusing. You know what I mean?
The 2 best satanic fetish shops I've ever seen are across the street from each other in Camden, London.
Oh, what are they called? Let's do a shout out. Do you know?
One of them is Sai. That's
Sai. Okay. Okay.
SAI, 2 words.
Okay.
And the other one is I can't remember the name of it, but it is right across the street in the big I I guess the only word for it is a shopping center, but it's definitely a different experience than a shopping center.
Noted. I
It's
will.
almost like where gypsies hang out, it's more like that.
That's so funny. When I did Glastonbury last summer, I was part of the Science Future stage. I was the comedy headliner and the amazing psychologist, primatologist that ran it. Her name is Jilly Forrester, and her family. She's an amazing family, all very talented. Her husband is a performer as well, and her daughter is a singer songwriter. But they're all very gothy. They're like kind of like the gothy modern, I know Brady Bunch, but they're so adorable, you know, because it's a summer festival. Everyone's got black nail polish on, but they all were so incredibly fun and funny. But yeah, I
That reminds me, May 19th, I think it's May 19th, I will be in Las Vegas
oh,
doing
okay.
an invocation, a satanic invocation for Clark County.
What does that mean? What does that tell me?
It's like the opening prayer.
You're like
Why
cutting the
they
ribbon,
insist
but
on
prayer. Okay.
Yeah, you know how they open it, we're
Yeah.
gonna conduct the business of the state, but first, we have to pretend that we're talking to a magic, invisible, imaginary friend, That's what they gotta do. So,
Wow.
yeah,
Interesting. And you're doing it?
I'm doing the invocation. Yeah,
Fantastic. I love it.
I've done one once before. That they got the rotunda for, the Idaho State Capitol building,
Okay.
and I was in the rotunda, so the local Satanist group got the
In
rotunda,
Idaho.
and so there was a couple dozen of us in this, and there's hundreds of Christians all over the place making as much noise as they could.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, there was a choir singing so that nobody could hear. There was other people bringing their musical instruments, and there was just all people clanging around, and all the people trying to do their mystical prayers with one hand out, and chanting in tongues and all that shit. Because if they didn't do that, then somebody might hear what I had to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good times. Good times. Well,
So in order for me to get the recording, I had to have the lav mic, and that's the only reason
yeah.
that you can hear it in the recording is because I have that. And otherwise, if you were standing next to me, you wouldn't hear it.
Wow. That is wild. Yeah, they really can be loud. They really can. Real quick, I've got a good question from Alira the Free. If I'm not mistaken, some scientists found ancient tombs with hunting tools buried with females, as well as males, suggesting that gender roles were not so rigid thousands of years ago. Yes. And I will say this, I did a show last year with 2 anthropologists, Dr. Sarah Lacey and Dr. Kara Achenbach, about their 2 papers, Women the Hunter, the physiological evidence, and Women the Hunter, the archaeological evidence. Because not only did they find certain graves with grave goods that both males and females had that would show that females were doing the same roles as the males, but also the same injuries, as if they were getting hurt doing the same exact jobs. Because this is at a time, this is the late Pleistocene, when there was not, the groups were too small to have division of labor. So everybody was pretty much doing the same thing. They also found that the physiological evidence is more that women have more estrogen, and generally, not always. And estrogen acts as an endurance performance enhancer. And during the very first hunting, it would have been persistence hunting, meaning we weren't necessarily felling these big game animals by shooting them with a bow and arrow. It was before that technology had been developed, but we would have been tracking them, following them, because quadrupeds are a lot faster than bipeds, meaning we walk on two legs, they walk on fours, but we can tucker them out. We can follow them to the point of exhaustion. And then, like Aron mentioned before, because we are in a group, we can all come together and kill the animal and eat it. So they do think that women were hunting just as much as men during the late Pleistocene and perhaps even earlier. And then, of course, into the later, the early Holocene in certain areas.
Plus,
So,
I've seen evidence that women tend to fare better in marathon running
yep.
very often than men do. So yeah, I mean, if the woman has a bow or a spear, I don't care which gender kills me. And there's also, if you think about small communities, I mean, very small communities, there's always that one woman. There may be some submissive girls in there, but there's always that one woman that even the guys are afraid of.
Yeah. My high school boyfriend's parents used to tell me all the time, "We're so happy our son is dating you because we know he's safe with you." Because I kickbox and I was a brown belt and I specialized in board breaking. But no, you're absolutely, I mean, you're right. And there was a discovery in Peru of a woman also buried with hunting grave goods. And that was also further illustrating that this division of labor and this idea of strict gender roles really took basically agriculture. I always joke that agriculture fucked everything up. When we put down roots, in the Neolithic Revolution, and we got sedentary, not only did our diet get worse, I mean, we had in theory, food security because you're growing crops. So unless there's famine or drought, you're generally eating regularly, but you're eating the same shit day in and day out. And that stuff messes with your teeth. You get more dental caries that can lead to abscesses. You also, because you're eating a lot of glucose, that can be problematic when it comes to weight gain. There also was disease prevalence because before, when you had a small hunter-gatherer group, you could have a pathogen come into your group, kill all the ones that couldn't handle it, and the ones that remained, they gained immunity and moved forward. But if you have a sedentary group, maybe like a more of a state level society, it'll kind of ping pong through and mutate, as we know what happened with COVID, and the pathogen can just keep going for ages and ages until people are just ravaged by it. So
I
yeah.
took my anthropology degree included a bunch of different courses in paleontology and a number of other things, but I mean, one of them was a course in archaeology, and I think I took one class in anthropology and archaeology, two separate classes toward that degree.
Mhm.
Both of them, or at least the archaeology one, to my memory, it was heavily leaning toward how the hunter-gatherer society was better and how we fucked everything up when we started, living communally in permanent dwellings. Which I don't want to agree with that because I'm
Yeah.
trying to look at the mass populations. You can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking about a population
No.
of 100 people on a continent, okay.
Sure. Right.
But 10 million people on an island?
I mean, we talk about it with fission fusion groups and non-human primates. For instance, I studied spider monkeys, and when you have low resource of it, like I mentioned earlier, the two drivers for moving around usually is food and finding mates, fucking. And when it comes to non-human primates that live in fission fusion groups, I'll start off in a big group in the beginning of the day, maybe all sleep in a sleeping tree. In the case of spider monkeys, they'll wake up in the morning. They'll, go about their day looking for food, but because they don't want to compete with perhaps males, they'll fission off into tiny groups, right? And so maybe the couple females will be together with their infants, a couple males, so they'll have smaller groups here and there. And that is to cut down on resource competition. They even think that that might be why orangutans, which are, I call them the deadbeat dads and single moms of the forest, because they are very, very solitary in the wild. But if you get them in captivity, they love being around each other. But in the wild, the males and females only kind of get together when it's time to get down. And the females have their kids with them for 8 years, the second longest to humans. We all know a 50-year-old living in their parents' basement, let's be real. But essentially, they think the reason why they're solitary and not living in groups anymore is because there's just so little resources in the forests where they live in Borneo and Sumatra. And so it's a direct correlation and relationship to the environment. A lot of our behavior is related to the environment. A lot of culture is shaped by the environment, and which is interesting because humans are now known for shaping the environment. So it's kind of this feedback loop of, well, they both influence each other. But it is very interesting about how we how things like agriculture that you kind of take for granted, because also agriculture led to marriage. All of a sudden you've got this thing called marriage, and you have polygamy in terms of like, you have men having multiple wives, because if you think about it, it makes sense. You want a lot of hands to work that farm, and women are now property, and you can buy her with some goats. And how nice are these goats? I don't know, but like, that's the thing, is
They're almost as good as the real thing.
right? Seriously. Most. That's a great question, Alira. Thank you so much. And hold on, I have another at Mr. Krenin number 2. The Upanishads is explicit that gods are symbols. In India, imams have called for Advaita and Shivaism, and Shivaism and Theravadam and Jain ashrams to be stripped of the title of religion for being votive atheisms. I think I said that correctly. I just want to make sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're
I
symbols. Yeah.
Yeah, I must apologize because I feel like this has been a very short conversation. It's actually been almost an hour and a half.
Oh, yes. And you might have to go.
I do in fact have to go. I apologize for that because it's going well, and I think we can go places. So,
Yes.
I mean, there's so much to cover. We really haven't started yet.
No.
So we should do this again
Yes.
if you like.
I would love that. So and I want to respect your time. Where can folks find you?
Patreon.com/ARONRA. But no, I have my channel on YouTube, literally ARONRA, Aron Ra. It's not Aaron. There's no
No.
2 A's there. You need 2 A's for the long A sound. It's Aron. Have to correct everybody. Anyway, that's where I am, and
Okay.
I do phylogeny videos. I do the things I love to do is my phylogeny videos, but they don't get the views that drama does, and there's an awful lot of drama to address. So as you were saying, how science is political, I do a science channel that has to be mostly politics because of the way that Christian nationalism is coming down on science. And I haven't talked about any of the stuff that was relevant to that we really need to get into. So I'm looking forward to a part
Yes.
2
We'll
to
do
this
a part
conversation.
2. And I'll save these comments, folks, because you have to jump right now, because I don't want to. I was going to read these, but I can wait.
We
I know
can
what you got.
read those, but I do have to get out quick.
Okay. Leaving Islam as India's majority religion, the world's religion can't just mean religiosity. And then my unfinished sock. Thank you so much. Don't be a sociopath. Like and share the stream instead. Hail, Natalia and Aaron. Oh my God. Huh, I did it. Wow. I've never done that before. And hail, socially constructed morality. I blame.
No problem, Natalie.
Yeah, thank you. I get it all the time. Actually, just call me genitalia. At Mr. Kreinen, look at the rate at which we mammalian large predators will adopt each other's and our own prey's babies. Lionesses adopt gazelle calves. Leopards adopt baby baboons. Wolves, dogs adopt human babies. I want to be raised by a wolf. And lastly, Alira the Free. I'm curious now, if women fare better in marathons, what would transphobic people say about trans women in marathons? Oh God, they probably say terrible things, but that's because they don't know the science. They don't know the science. And
Yeah,
that was
now
a very good
I
question.
don't know the science either, and because I don't talk about that subject.
Mm.
But everybody wants to drag me into that. And the last thing I'll say about that
Mhm.
is that I think the people who know the science can defend the various aspects of the transposition and all of that, and to
Yeah.
justify it for people who don't understand, who can show that I'm legitimately not what you think I am, right? But whether they could or not, my stance is that in the country that I was born in, which clearly isn't the country I live in anymore,
Oh dear.
but in the country I was born in, we all had a constitutional right to freedom of expression, as that was attached to our right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And I am not going to be the one to infringe on those rights like the Christian right does.
Yeah.
All right.
No, this is
Thank you
true.
very much,
Well, thank
Natasha.
you so much, Aron. Oh my God, please come back. We're gonna figure out another one very soon. And people of the internet, please give a round of applause in your homes for Aron Ra. Follow, watch all his shows, support his Patreon, please. He's amazing. So thank you so much for being here. And until next time, I hope you stay filthy. And I'll let you go, and I'm gonna wrap up the show with my closing statements, which is we're in a hot pickle, aren't we, guys? Uh, yeah, if you liked the stream, please go ahead and like it, subscribe, share it with your friends, frenemies, fuck buddies, you name it. Just share the stream, please. And I want to thank Aron for being here. I want to thank my producer, Peter DeTucker, who has just been, I don't know, an absolute breath of fresh air and made every stream go as best as possible. And here's a quick reminder that if you do like the show so much, you can also join my Patreon. I would highly, highly appreciate it, but no pressure. You can join it for free if you want. That's totally fine. And I want to thank my patrons, which here's the list. Where's my list? Okay. We've got Claude Allen, Daniel Wynn, Tom, Skullbeard, Tori Yates Orr, Redding Maley, Dana Logan, Michael Z. Weinstock, David Leitner, Dr. James Hudspeth, Jen Beverstock, Scott Froschauer, JSB, Jeff Cohen, BJ Shapiro, Samantha Paradis, Andrea Bloom, Jonathan Marks, Dr. Jonathan Marks, Aisha Khan, Kelly Dorr, Raphael, and Alira the Free. Thank you so much, everybody, for your support. And until next time, stay extra filthy, please. Goodbye.